You're not invited. Thanksgiving is only for real family, my mother said, so I stopped funding them. It started with a phone call 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. I was at the office, buried under quarterly reports, the kind of work that numbs your brain until you're staring at the screen wondering how the cursor got 3 paragraphs down with nothing in it. I almost didn't answer when I saw her name pop up. But I did. I always did. "Hi, Mom," I said, tucking the phone between my shoulder and cheek, already minimizing spreadsheets. Her voice was tight. Not angry. Not sad. Just tight. Like someone clenching their jaw through a smile. "Hi, David. I just wanted to touch base about Thanksgiving." "Sure," I said, already imagining the usual, the cranberry sauce that nobody liked but everyone ate anyway, the green beans with those weird crunchy onions, Dad carving the turkey with that dull knife he refused to replace, and me pretending to like stuffing. "Well," she said, then paused. My stomach dropped, just slightly. I knew that pause. "We've decided to keep things a little more intimate this year." "Intimate," I repeated. "Yes. Just your siblings and their families. You know, a real family Thanksgiving." I froze. A real family Thanksgiving. There was a pause, one she didn't fill. I was supposed to respond. Maybe laugh it off. Maybe pretend I didn't hear what I heard. But I just sat there, phone pressed to my face, staring out the window at the pale November sun bleeding through the clouds. "Right," I finally said. "Got it. It's nothing personal," she added quickly. "It's just, we want to keep it small." "Sure. You know how the kids are." "Sure." There was another silence, longer and heavier. "I have to get back to work," I said. "Talk to you later." She didn't protest. I stared at the phone for a while after I hung up. Not angry. Not sad. Just hollow. Like something had been pulled out from under me. I was 42 years old. I'd been helping my parents out financially since I was 30. Quietly, without much fanfare. Just enough to keep things going. Paid off their mortgage the year after Dad's second stroke. Helped cover the medical bills when Susan, my younger sister, got in that car accident. Funded my nephew's tuition last fall. All of it without ever being asked twice. They never begged. I never gloated. That was the unspoken agreement. And now I wasn't real family. I went home that night and sat in the dark for a long time. I didn't turn on the lights. Didn't pour myself a drink. Didn't turn on the TV. Just sat. The silence in my apartment felt different that night. Not peaceful. Not restful. Just empty. The next morning, I logged into my bank's online dashboard and made a list. There were 3 automatic payments set up, monthly transfers to Mom and Dad's joint account, one for Susan's student loan, and another for a separate college fund I'd been contributing to for my niece. I clicked cancel on all 3. No dramatic note. No angry message. Just, stop. It took about a week. Susan called first. "Hey," she said, breezy as usual. "Weird thing, my loan payment bounced. Do you know if there was a bank error or something?" I let her speak. She always talked fast when she was nervous. "I canceled the transfer," I said. Pause. "Oh." More silence. "Okay, was there a reason?" I leaned back in my chair, looked out at the gray city skyline. I had never said this kind of thing out loud before. Mom said Thanksgiving was for real family only. Susan went quiet. She didn't mean it like that. She said it like that. Another pause. She didn't argue. Not directly. "All right," she said softly. "I get it." She hung up. A day later, Dad called. "Hey, sport." He hadn't called me that since I was 12. "How's work?" "It's fine," I said. "You?" "Fine." We sat in that limbo, both of us trying to navigate a conversation without the thing in the middle. "I noticed the account's short this month," he finally said. "I stopped sending money." "Why?" "Ask Mom." He sighed. That long, breathy sigh I remembered from when he was disappointed in me, like the time I crashed the old Camry into a fire hydrant. "It's been a hard year for her. And for me." Another silence. "You're still our son," he said. "Nothing's changed." I wanted to ask him why he didn't stop her. Why he didn't call me right after. Why he didn't say something when she decided I wasn't real enough. But I didn't. I have to go, I said. All right. He didn't call back after that. The week of Thanksgiving came fast. Thursday morning, I woke up to a quiet apartment. No smell of roasting turkey. No clatter of pans. No text messages with address changes or questions about when I'd arrive. I took a long walk around the city, my breath fogging in the cold. I passed restaurants full of other people's families, watched through windows as kids unwrapped early presents or mashed potatoes with oversized spoons. I ended up in a small cafe, half full, with a fake fireplace and an overcooked ham sandwich. I stared at my phone the whole time, waiting for a message that didn't come. But it was fine. I had known it wouldn't. The real message came the next day. Not from my parents. Not from Susan. From Nate. My youngest brother. The one who never asked for money. The one who left town right after high school and only came back twice. He sent me a single text. You were right. I stared at it for a long time. Then I called him. What happened? I asked. He let out a breath like he'd been holding it for years. Thanksgiving was a disaster, he said. Susan fought with Mom. Dad drank too much. The kids were running wild. And nobody mentioned you. Not once. That bad? I left early, he said. Told them I had work. I didn't. Silence again. Are you okay? He asked, suddenly softer. I don't know. Want company? I didn't answer right away. Yeah, I finally said. Yeah, I do. Be there in an hour. And just like that, for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel completely alone. Nate arrived just after 3 in the afternoon, holding a grocery bag like he'd raided a convenience store on his way over. A 6-pack of local craft beer, a microwavable pizza, and a family-sized bag of chips that looked like it had been dropped. This is the saddest potluck ever, I said, smirking. Hey, I came on short notice. He stepped inside, tracking a few snowflakes onto the hardwood, shrugged off his jacket, and gave me a brief hug. It wasn't our thing, but we did it anyway. Some things shift when you hit your 40s. You stop pretending you're above that kind of connection. I hadn't seen Nate in over a year. He looked good. Leaner than I remembered, a bit more stubble, but the same quiet eyes. Always watching. Always listening. We sat on the couch, the unopened pizza between us like a peace offering. So, he said, cracking open a beer, want to tell me what really happened? I took a sip of my own, stared out the window again. She said Thanksgiving was for real family only. He whistled softly. Harsh. I nodded. That why you pulled the plug? Yeah. Good, he said. I looked over. No hesitation? Nope. I'd expected pushback. Some version of, maybe you overreacted, or they didn't mean it. But Nate wasn't Susan. He never tiptoed around the truth. I've always known you carried more weight than the rest of us, he added. I just didn't realize how much. I didn't reply. What could I say? That I'd spent over a decade trying to earn a place that was supposedly mine by default? He leaned back, arms stretched across the top of the couch. You remember when I left? He asked. You mean the week after high school graduation? Yeah. I was gone before they cut the cake. Hard to forget. I left because I couldn't stand the way they made me feel, he said. Like I was always one step behind. Always the disappointment. I raised an eyebrow. You were the golden boy. That's what they told people. That's not how they treated me. I'd never heard him say this out loud. Nate didn't talk about the past. That was our family code: deny, deflect, diffuse. I thought you left because of your band. That was part of it. But the real reason? I couldn't breathe in that house anymore. I took another drink. The silence between us felt heavier now. Not awkward. Just full. They only loved us when we played our part, he said. Mine was being the bank. And mine was being the escape artist. We sat for a while, the city quiet behind the frosted glass. Then Nate said something that knocked the wind out of me. You know, they told everyone you weren't coming because you had work. I turned toward him slowly. They lied? Yep. Said you were too busy. That you had some big business meeting you couldn't miss. My jaw clenched. That old familiar heat rose in my chest. I shouldn't have been surprised. But it still cut deep. They couldn't even own it, I muttered. Of course not. That would require admitting they pushed you out. I stood, started pacing. My hands itched for something to do. I found myself rearranging the items on my kitchen counter just to burn energy. I gave them everything, I said. Mortgage, medical bills, tuition, and they couldn't give me a chair at the damn table. Nate watched me quietly. They don't deserve you, he said. I wanted to believe him. But the doubt was already there, whispering. If I wasn't family now, had I ever been? He stood and walked over. Let's go somewhere. Where? Anywhere. Let's just not sit in this apartment stewing in family trauma. We ended up at a dive bar 6 blocks away. The kind of place with dim lighting, sticky floors, and a jukebox that played the same 6 songs on repeat. It was perfect. We found a booth in the back. Ordered greasy burgers and cheap whiskey. For a couple hours, we didn't talk about mom or dad. We talked about his music, my job, the neighbor who kept stealing my Amazon packages. Normal stuff. But eventually, the conversation looped back. Do you think they even miss me? I asked. Nate didn't answer right away. They missed the version of you that served a purpose, he said. But the real you? The one who finally said no? I don't think they know how to want that. It was a brutal answer. But it felt true. I used to think loyalty was enough, I said. That if I just showed up, helped out, never complained, eventually they'd see me. You're not invisible, Nate said. You just outgrew the role they wanted you to play. We didn't speak for a long time after that. The jukebox crooned out some old country song about broken hearts and dusty roads. A couple at the bar argued over pool rules. I stared into the melted ice in my glass and felt something inside me settle. Not heal. Not yet. But settle. The next day, I got a text from Susan. We need to talk. I showed it to Nate. She's going to try to play mediator, he said. Watch. I texted back. Call me. She did, an hour later. Hey, she said. Her voice sounded strained. Hey. I talked to mom. Yeah? She regrets what she said. I waited. She didn't mean. Don't, I interrupted. Don't try to repackage it. She sighed. I'm just saying, maybe she messed up, but she still loves you. I closed my eyes. Then why hasn't she called? Another pause. She's embarrassed. And stubborn. Sounds familiar. I'm not defending her, Susan said. I'm just trying to keep the family from falling apart. I let out a laugh. It wasn't funny, but it came anyway. It already did, Susan. The moment she drew that line. There was a beat of silence. Do you want to fix it? She asked. I don't know, I said honestly. Do they? She didn't have an answer. That weekend, Nate and I drove out to the coast. No plans, no agenda. Just miles of gray sky and restless waves. We rented a tiny cabin with a fireplace and mismatched furniture, ate cold sandwiches and drank cheap wine like kings. One night, as the fire burned low, Nate asked. If she called tomorrow, apologized for real, would you forgive her? I thought about it. I'd listen, I said. That's a start. He nodded, then raised his glass. To real family, he said. We clinked glasses. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. The call came 3 days later. It was a Tuesday morning. I was back at work, sitting in my office sipping lukewarm coffee and half listening to a Zoom meeting about something I was supposed to care about. My phone lit up, and I froze. Mom. I let it ring once. Twice. My thumb hovered over decline. But I didn't press it. I swiped to answer. Hi, I said flatly. Silence for half a second. Then her voice, quieter than I'd ever heard it. David. Just my name. No preamble. No how are you, no excuse. That alone told me she knew. I heard you've been talking to Susan, she said. I didn't respond. Let her keep going. I didn't mean what I said, she added. Not the way it came out. Still, I said nothing. It was just, we were trying to simplify this year. Holidays are complicated. I understand, I said, finally. But you made it simple by cutting me out. That's not fair. It's not? You told me Thanksgiving was for real family only. Then you acted like I didn't exist. Didn't even try to reach out after. There was a beat of silence. Then I was angry. That surprised me. Angry at what? She hesitated. That you never come around. That you're always working. That you make everything about money. I laughed. Not kindly. Everything about money? I paid your bills for a decade. I didn't ask you to. No, you just accepted it every single month and never once said thank you. David. Don't spin this like I was buying affection. I helped because I wanted to. Because I thought that's what family did. Her breath was shaky on the other end. You were always the strong one, she said. We leaned on you because you let us. Yeah. And when I finally said no, you threw me out. That wasn't the intention. But it was the impact. She didn't deny it. I just wanted to feel like I mattered, I said, softer now. Not for what I gave you. For who I am. You do. Then why did you have a family dinner without me? The silence stretched. I don't know, she whispered. I really don't. And for the first time, I believed her. We ended the call not with forgiveness, but with something more fragile, honesty. She didn't ask me to come home. I didn't offer. But there was a weight lifted. Not gone, but shifting. Later that night, I called Nate. She called, I said. And? She said sorry. Kind of. Did it feel real? I think so. Or at least as real as she's capable of. Progress, he said. Slow, clumsy progress. We both laughed, the kind of laugh you share when something's still a little broken, but less sharp. Hey, he added, you should come to the show I'm playing on Friday. It's a fundraiser. Low key. Just a few sets. You still doing that acoustic folk punk emo hybrid? You make it sound like a disease. I'll come, I said. You sure? Yeah. I need more than spreadsheets and bitterness in my life. The bar was small, tucked between a pawn shop and a used bookstore. The kind of place that smelled like stale beer and fresh hope. The crowd was young. I felt ancient in comparison, but nobody cared. Nate's set was tight. Stripped down, honest. He sang about leaving home, missing people you shouldn't miss, about bridges burned and the strange piece of the ashes left behind. I stood in the back and felt every word like a bruise. After his last song, he stepped off stage and walked straight to me. Well, you're better than I remembered. He grinned. Told you it wasn't a phase. We sat at the bar, ordered fries and cheap beer, and talked about nothing important. It felt good. Then Susan walked in. I spotted her before he did. She looked tired. Hair pulled back, face drawn. She scanned the crowd, then saw us and walked over. You invited her? I asked under my breath. Nope, he said. Guess she invited herself. She slid onto the stool next to me. Didn't speak right away. Just stared at the half-empty basket of fries between us. Can I talk to you alone? She asked. Nate glanced at me. It's okay, I said. We moved to a quiet corner by the jukebox, still blinking from some bad 80s ballad. I wanted to say I'm sorry, she said. I looked at her. For what? For letting it happen. For not stopping Mom. For not calling you sooner. You didn't say anything at the dinner? I did. After the kids left the room, I blew up. Told her what she did was cruel. But it was too late by then. Yeah. I didn't want to pick sides, she added. But silence is a side, too. That hit harder than I expected. Because it was the truth. I've been thinking about what you said, she continued. About not being seen. Not being appreciated. I nodded. We were so used to you being there, we didn't notice how much we relied on you. Until I wasn't. Exactly. She took a deep breath. I don't expect things to go back to how they were. I just want us to be better going forward. More honest. Less transactional. I'd like that too. We didn't hug. But we stood there for a long moment, something unspoken passing between us. A truce. Maybe the start of something new. Over the next few weeks, things shifted. Small gestures. A check-in from Dad. An email from Mom with photos of the grandkids and no passive-aggressive commentary. Nate and I started meeting weekly. Just coffee. No family talk. Just music, movies, life. It wasn't perfect. Nothing with family ever is. But it was movement. And after years of stillness, that felt like a win. Then, on Christmas Eve, I got a package at my door. No return address. Inside was a photo album. Black leather, slightly worn. I opened it and nearly dropped it. Inside were photos, dozens of them. Me. At 8. At 22. At 35. Birthday parties, graduations, family trips. Clippings of old report cards. A dried flower from my first school play. A note in Mom's handwriting, "You were always part of us." I'm sorry it took so long to say it. I sat on the floor, holding that album like it might vanish. For the first time since that call, I cried. Not because I was hurt. But because maybe, finally, I wasn't invisible anymore. After Christmas, the house felt different. The silence wasn't as heavy. The wall seemed less crowded with unspoken resentments. I still hadn't heard from Mom directly, but the photo album said what words hadn't. It was a small olive branch, a start. A few days after New Year's, I decided to text her. "Thanks for the album. It means more than you know." The reply came hours later. "I hope it helps. I want us to find our way back." Slowly. That slowly felt like an invitation. The next weekend, I showed up at the house. No fanfare, no announcement. Just me, standing on the porch with a bottle of wine. Mom opened the door, surprise and something softer in her eyes. "David," she said. Her voice cracked a little. "I brought wine," I said. She laughed, the kind of laugh that clears the air. "Come in." Inside, the house smelled like cinnamon and pine. Christmas lights twinkled on the tree in the corner. Dad was in his recliner, reading a newspaper. "Hey," he said without looking up. I nodded. We sat in the living room, the three of us, the awkward tension hanging like fog. I could feel every old memory in that room, the good and the bad. "I want to talk," Mom said finally. "Me too." She took a deep breath. "I was wrong to shut you out. I thought I was protecting the family, but I only made things worse." "I know. We all made mistakes," Dad added. "Maybe we thought money fixed everything. But it doesn't." "No, it doesn't." We spoke for hours. About expectations, disappointments, and the long shadows of the past. I told them about how it felt to give and never really belong. They shared their own regrets, fears, and hopes. By the end of the night, the distance between us felt smaller. A few days later, Susan called. "Mom wants to invite you to Thanksgiving next year," she said. I laughed. "Slow progress, remember?" "I'm serious." I paused. "Okay. Maybe." Over the next months, things didn't exactly smooth out, but the rough edges softened. We started having dinner once a month. Just the four of us. No pressure, no pretense. One night, Nate came over. He met Mom and Dad for the first time in years. The tension was there, sure, but so was something new, respect. Watching them talk felt like watching an old song get a new arrangement, familiar notes, but unexpected harmonies. On Thanksgiving, I stayed home. No invite. No guilt. Instead, Nate and I cooked. We drank cheap wine, listened to vinyl records, and talked about the future. "Maybe next year," he said, "you'll be sitting at their table." "Maybe," I said. But I knew one thing for sure: family wasn't about invitations. It was about who showed up. Who stayed. Who fought to be there. And I'd finally stopped waiting for permission. Spring came slowly that year. Not with a flourish, but in cautious stages: a day of warm sun, followed by a week of gray rain. The trees hesitated to bloom. People shuffled around in coats that should have been put away by April, as if everyone was waiting for the season to commit. I understood that feeling. Nothing in my family had fully bloomed again either. But something was growing. Quietly. Carefully. The soil had been turned, the rot acknowledged, and for the first time in years, we weren't pretending the garden was thriving, we were actually tending to it. Mom and I started talking more. Little things at first: book recommendations, old family recipes, the status of her neighbor's questionable lawn decorations. We steered clear of deep topics. Sometimes peace grows best in silence, not in picking at old wounds. Dad had started sending me links to articles he thought I'd find interesting. One was about solar energy. Another about aging athletes still competing. It was his way of connecting small, strange signals from the man who once thought emotions were things best left in glove compartments and dusty drawers. Susan came over for dinner one night with her kids in tow. She brought a bottle of wine and apologized again, in her own way, a bit clumsy, a bit too fast, but sincere. We didn't rehash everything. We just ate, laughed, and let the past sit in the other room while we tried out the future in the living room. In June, Dad had a minor health scare. Nothing life-threatening, but serious enough that I drove over immediately, no second thought. The old reflexes kicked in, but something had changed. This time, they didn't just expect me to handle everything. Susan was there already, helping him into the car. Nate showed up at the hospital, pacing the hallway with me, not trying to escape like he used to. We stood shoulder to shoulder, quietly grateful that we weren't alone in it. When the doctor came out with good news, Mom cried. And this time, she didn't turn away from me when she did. A few weeks later, I got a card in the mail. No holiday. No birthday. Just a folded piece of stationery with pressed flowers on the front. Inside, in her loopy handwriting, Mom had written, "We spent years depending on you and calling it closeness. I know now that being family isn't just about what we ask from you, it's also about what we give. Thank you for staying when we didn't deserve it. Love, Mom." I sat down at the kitchen table and read it twice. Then I called her. "I got your note," I said. "I meant every word," she replied. "I know." There was a long pause. "The good kind." "I was thinking," she said. "If you're free this summer, maybe we could do a family barbecue. Nothing big. Just us. No fancy invitations." I smiled. "Sounds like a real family thing." "It is." "Okay. I'm in." The day of the barbecue was warm and clear. Nate showed up early, grill tongs in one hand, a six-pack in the other. Susan came an hour later with the kids, who immediately started a water balloon war in the backyard. Dad was already outside, manning the grill, flipping burgers with a concentration usually reserved for major life decisions. And Mom, well, she stayed close this time. Not out of guilt. Not out of fear of messing things up. Just close, like she finally understood how fragile and powerful presence can be. We sat around a folding table under a string of backyard lights, mismatched chairs pulled from every corner of the house. Music played low. The kids ran barefoot through the grass. The food wasn't perfect. The drinks ran out halfway through. Someone spilled ketchup on the dog. But it was ours. Late that night, as the others packed up, Nate and I sat on the porch with the last 2 beers. "You think this'll last?" he asked. "I don't know," I said. "But I'm willing to find out." He nodded. We clinked bottles. To survival. To soft starts. To coming back from silence. And as the porch light buzzed above us and the sounds of the night grew still, I thought about that first call. The one where my mother said I wasn't invited. The one that fractured everything. And I realized something. Maybe it needed to break for us to really rebuild. Maybe I needed to walk away to see what I was walking toward. They didn't fix it with words. Not really. And I didn't forgive them all at once. But we stopped pretending. We stopped performing. And in the space that opened up, we started again, not with expectations, but with choice. Because real family isn't just who shares your blood. It's who shows up when the music stops, when the money's gone, when the invitations are torn in half and still says, "I want to be here." And this time, so did I. Thank you for watching the video, like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.